Happy Friday, everybody. Today we are doing a bit of a layout update, and we are going to talk about some of the things I have been working on moving forward on this whole project. So, honestly, I'm in a bit of a rock and hard place. I am relatively ahead on my review schedule for engines. I have done a bunch of testing before I kind of got into this project, and I got a lot of notes on, I think, 5 engines that are basically ready for review. I just want to do a little bit of running here and there just to make sure that my notes stand up to what I remember and I'm ready for the review. Not to mention, just going to make sure that they are still good locomotives at that point. So that's pretty easy to do, run them here and there. They all have had their pressure testing and whatnot, so should be good to go. But I am relatively behind on rolling stock, and that's kind of why this video is coming out today. And what I'm running into is I am shutting down my layout for periods of time to do like ballasting work and what have you, and so it kind of slows down the process for properly reviewing my rolling stock. And so I think I am going to take a hiatus from rolling stock reviews for probably a good month now while I work on pushing this forward. Now, this Wednesday I released my first video in my beginner series, and that's going to take over my Empty Wallet Wednesday slot for 5 or 6 weeks. I think I've got 7 videos in total put together or ideas for those videos put together to walk a person through all of the beginner stuff in N-scale. So I'm probably going to push all of my layout updates and what have you to Fridays for the remainder of the next month or so. And what I'm running into is basically ballasting is slowing me down, and I am taking a little different approach to this layout than I have in my last few. I'm really taking my time, and this is something that is new to me. For the entirety of my life, I have been strictly a weekend warrior, and for those of you who don't know what that means, it is not that you just do things on the weekends. It's if I can't get it done on the weekend, I don't want nothing to do with it, because you get 3/4 of it done and it never ever happens again. So I have always been that kind of person that if I don't get it done, it never gets done, except when it comes to this hobby. And I have really learned some patience from this in the last few years. This has been one of the few things that I have been able to pick away at every weekend religiously for the last at least year and a half now. And so I feel comfortable taking my time on a lot of this stuff. And this layout I have really built to last. Now, it may not be perfect for me forever, but this is strictly, set up to be a video review layout. But the idea is I want it to look nice all said and done. So the one thing that I am doing is I am taking a different approach to ballasting. And in the past, I have just done the flood ballasting thing where you come in, you put a bunch of ballast on it in the way you want it to look, and then you flood it with a mixture of glue and water and dish soap and alcohol and blah, blah, blah. And sometimes you get the mixture just right. Sometimes you mess it up a little bit. Your ballast doesn't stick perfectly. On unitrack, it's a little more difficult. When you're running regular track, especially running down the center of the ties, there's a place for the ballast to be, so it tends to just work a little better. This kind of already has the shape of ballast, so a lot of times it rolls down. You got to come in and do some cleanup work anyway. And honestly, you end up using a lot more ballast from what I have figured out. And so I've been kind of perfecting this new technique that I come in and I basically just glue a little bit in between each tie, and then I put a big bead running down the side, and I give it 5 minutes or so to fully run down the side of, the Kato's already, edged unitrack. And then I come in and sprinkle, ballast on top of it. And you can go as heavy or as light as you want, as long as you got full coverage, because after that, you just come in and vacuum up anything that isn't stuck, and then it's really apparent at that point, after it's dried, where you got light spots, and then it's really simple to come in and just do little bits of cleanup here and there. There are a couple of downsides to it, though. If you're not perfect with the amount of glue you're using, you kind of get ridges down here at the bottom. And so I've been toying with this idea of just coming in with dirt and turf and kind of just filling in along that. And I've done a little bit of that over here. And so far it looks pretty darn good. So I think I'm going to continue with this technique. And for now, I've got most of my painting kind of done and I've got my shape put together. I am going to be ballasting in sections of about a foot at a time. I'm going to do it in different sections of the track. So while I'm working over here, while it's drying, I can move over here. And over the next probably 2 weeks or so, hopefully I will have the entire layout ballasted just by doing a little bit every night. Now this kind of shuts down my layout for doing a lot of things. So like I said, it's going to slow up my review period, or my rolling stock review stuff. But the other thing I'm running into is I need to make a trip to Great Falls, which is a ways from me. And so before I can do that, I don't have any like dirt or whatever to lay down, because it is pretty muddy and snowy in Montana right now. So I need to get some grout that I can make some dirt mix. And so that is kind of one thing I'm also waiting on. So that's going to slow me up a little bit as well. I really want to get the track work ready to go before I start working on my water feature. And the other thing that I have been working on is, I can't remember if I mentioned, but I'm pretty sure I did. My dad got me this for Christmas. And I have slowly been assembling this. Now, in the past, I have struggled a lot with a lot of N-scale structure kits. The instructions are usually pretty sketchy, and this one is no exception. It basically just shows you a couple pictures of the building process as well as all of the components. However, it's relatively simple. So it's actually going together pretty good, and I've actually really been enjoying this. The one thing I have learned from this is to take the same process when building these kits, and it is not to hurry. I don't have activator. I should probably get some, but the actual slowing down and taking your time has actually really helped with this process. So I've slowly been putting this together. I've been doing a little painting, add a little bit of wood chips here and there, and then I'm actually going to change the actual final design of this to work a little bit more with the water feature I have. And so water wheel won't be installed. It'll kind of just be laying there like this used to be a logging mill over there that had, like a working river running by it, that was decommissioned and then kind of just reclaimed and made into a lumber mill with more modern equipment. So there'll be maybe an excavator over there, and hopefully maybe find some milling equipment or something of that nature to go over there, as well as a bunch of trees laying on the ground and wood chips. So slightly going to change how this model is put together to fit my layout, but awesome addition. I've really been enjoying this kit. It's been one of the few that just taking my time on has been really easy, so that's cool. And since I've had all that trouble, I've been looking for pre-built kits, and the Woodland Scenics ones are really nice. Like I have one of the, my station is a Woodland Scenics one that was pre-built. The problem is they're really expensive. And honestly, right now, there is a flood of good used, structures on eBay. And I picked up a couple of them really affordably. And one thing about old plastic is it kind of tends to get a little bit of a meh to it. And so cheap acrylic paints, you can come back in, paint the roof so it doesn't have that weird kind of half melted looking texture to it. And a little bit of dirt here and there. And all of a sudden, you got a pretty nice looking structure for this. I think was $6 shipped. And that is going to be an awesome little addition to my my gravel pit over there. It's going to be a nice little workshop that'll be right next to it. And so that is cool. It's not actually meant to be that, but because it's going to be up against the side of this hill over here, you're not going to see the back loading dock, so it's going to look really good as just a standard metal building, for, I don't know what you'd call it, just kind of like an office area with a little extra storage for, some of the equipment that would be over here. So cool, got that cheap. Also got a bit of a mansion. I ended up being a little bigger than I thought for like $6 shipped too. And so that's really cool. I don't have it on the layout. And the other one that I got with it, if you kind of break up the cost, was about $4, and that was this airplane hanger. Again, it had a bit of the tinge. You can maybe kind of see it on the back there. Not really a big deal in this case. Came in, did a little bit of painting and cleanup, and yeah, got a nice little airplane hanger for my bush strip that's up here. Still looking for a cabin. Haven't found one cheap yet, but I might actually go ahead and get the that Woodland Scenics one just for review. It looks really cool. So making progress finding my structures for all my spots here. I'm also watching for a good granary. I have seen the instructions for those in the past, and they look a little sketchy, so I was hoping I could find a good used one that I could maybe weather up, that was already pre-built, maybe had a little bit of damage that I could fix for a real good price. So got my eyes out for that, but just haven't come across one yet. I might also change that up if I don't come across one of those. I have been seeing some affordable like tanker stations, and I do run a lot of tank cars on my layout, so that might be a good alternative. Or maybe I might do the same thing that I'm doing over here. If you buy 16th inch cork gasket material in bulk, you can sometimes find it really cheap. When I did, I got a 24 by 36 inch sheet for like $20 on eBay. Kind of sniped it, but that's kind of the game. And if you paint it with a really dark gray, light black, you get kind of an asphalt texture out of it, and it makes a really convincing parking lot area or road. So that's what I'm going to use for a parking area, and it's like substructure for that metal building. I'm going to have the road come around back here up to the parking area of the rural station here, and I might use some of that to put together some other small paved areas, like up here underneath the I'm losing it in my screen here, the airport. I don't want to pave this, but the parking area might be paved for, underneath the hangar. So yeah, that could be a thing there. So if I do that in those positions and I have any left over, I guess what I'm getting at is I might use it as a substructure or a base back here for the granary. And should I not want to run the granary, I can just pick it up, it's not glued down, and put in the oil thing to have, or fuel, whatever it is, tanker fill station, to have like an interchangeable location that I can run locals to or whatever. So sorry, it's getting late at night and having brain dump, but that might be kind of an idea that I do going forward. The other thing that I wanted to bring up this Friday, this is almost more of a Railside chat at this point. I ordered my TCS system, and it is on the way. I plan on doing a thorough overview of it when I get it, and hopefully we don't have any more problems. But I will be putting all of my ESU systems up for sale. I'm convinced that they just are not suitable for N scale, and I have a new replacement, command station, the ECOS, and my cab control units were semi-used, but I think I can resell them, knowing that if they're going to a guy that's running HO, and I might state that they're only for HO, that they're probably going to be relatively reliable. I think the voltage is just too high for some of my N-scale equipment. So I think at the end of the day, that's what the problem is. I have spent a bunch of time with an oscilloscope, watching the waveforms that come out of these things. The voltages are all where they're supposed to be out of the power supplies to match the rails. So at the end of the day, I didn't see anything weird. I didn't see voltage spikes. I didn't see any crazy amperage stuff that might happen. I think it is just, at the end of the day, too much voltage for too long on some of these N-scale decoders, they heat up, and with heat comes problems. So I have made the decision to switch to TCS, so a little bit hit up for money for the time being because that was a pretty big investment, and then I'm going to sell these to make up for it. So hopefully I don't come out too far backwards on the deal, but I got basically the entire lineup from TCS, so I will be going through all of their throttles, and we will deep dive on that system when I get a handle of it. So that's also going to be a little bit of a hindrance, as I'm going to be putting my ESU system up for sale almost immediately, and then waiting for my TCS system to arrive, because I do live in next to nowhere land, so it takes a while for me to get stuff. So thanks for stopping by, everybody. I guess this was a good Railside chat at this point, and I will see you this Sunday for the review on those bad boys right there. I've got a bunch of things to say about them. It's going to be a relatively good review, but there are quite a few things to go over. So tune in if you are interested. Have a good rest of your week. Bye now.